Going over some charts here. Awesome. Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to our first Tuesday episode of June. We got a big June ahead of us. And a lot of people just had their graduation or they're doing graduations this week. And schedules are about to clear up. Many of you have been following up with people who their schedule was too restrictive during the regular school year. So great news. Summertime is sales season, summer into fall. And just looking around and seeing what people have planned for June, especially with the Super Saturdays, the property tours, coast to coast, right? Property tours all over the country. So check those out all month long. Saturday morning, plug into those. And then we have our game nights. That I believe that is tonight. Yep, game night with Richard, cash flow. Then we got our cash flow game with Tamara. And it looks like we got cash flow game night out in Tooele this Friday. So we got a packed schedule. And some of you have been asking about the Investor Secret Network 90-day challenge and how to participate in that. And essentially, you have to be an ISN member, Investor Secret Network member, which most of you are, but you have to pay the monthly, what is it, 100? No, it's $97. There we go. Let me turn this on. It's $97 a month. You got to be a part of the first month is $1. Then it's $97 a month. But inside of here, what you're going to get is a schedule that's going to go along with this challenge. And right now, the challenge is $5.97. You're going to get a promo code as well when you go to the merch store. And you can buy, I think you get like some hats, some shirts, a sweatshirt, a jacket. We're going to load you up with a bunch of stuff, which will help you with your marketing and your networking and bringing resources to you. So anyway, that starts this Thursday, and if you can, then please be at corporate at 5 o'clock. If not, you'll have to catch the onboarding recording. But yeah, super exciting. Super exciting. The next 3 months. I mean, the whole summer is going to be ours, guys. Now, when I say ours, what I'm talking about is the thought process and the focus and the determination, breaking out of that normie mentality, especially because most people take summer as time off. And sure, go on your vacation, go do your boating trip, go do your fishing and your travel, go do it all. Do it, but don't take the whole quarter off. What an expensive mistake to take the whole quarter off. So don't be doing that, especially when I don't think they have it on here. But in October, we're going to be having our next E3. So when you look out over what is that? We're about 120 days. I got to do the math correct. 120 days until we get to the regional conference, which we're calling the E3 as well. If you spend the next 90 days preparing for that, getting good at answering questions, getting people down to the events, learning the system, mastering the system, let everyone else get distracted with normie summer stuff, but not you. You got a mission, you got a goal. Whatever it is that you decided at the beginning of the year or on this journey when you joined us, that mission is still, should not be sacrificed over a vacation or over distractions or trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. And it's gonna be tempting this summer, right? There's it's a new America. We got all kinds of uh bills being passed and liquidity injections happening, rumors of quantitative easing, whatever things are happening at Washington, D.C. All of these are signs of liquidity where people are going to have more money to buy more stuff. And here's the thing. We know that customers are going to buy real estate investment training. We just know it. The thing is are they going to buy it from you? Or are they going to buy it from some other guy who's doing a little bit better on marketing or some other lady? So it's up to you. How much money do you want to make this summer? I know some people are going to be making over 100 grand this summer. And some of you only need an extra 10 grand this summer. Great. So let's just do one sale. We were talking about numbers and schedules and how many hours we have to work in yesterday's call, and thinking about, breaking those numbers down. We also need to break down the numbers for how many leads we actually need. I was doing this yesterday, actually all day. Yesterday was a very productive day. Snyder and Jay Stark are really encouraged about the results from our nationals and how many new people joined. The product development, making the new classes, the new add-ons. And so they want to make it even better in the fall when we do this again. And a lot of people joined. They came to the 3-day event and they got a lot out of it. I saw the notes that people were taking. I saw the connections that they made. And so it was a very productive and useful event. But what I want to challenge all of you guys on the line here, same with myself, is that we don't just attend the next one as a student, as a participant, as someone wanting to become a better investor and gain that knowledge and that resource, but to go as a marketer, as a boss marketer with customers and clients in the room, where you have a whole table, a whole section, a whole row that's just reserved for your people. And since that event's going to be about 120 days away, and we got, our summer quarter is just beginning. It's exciting. It feels like, compared to the last several summers, there's definitely some new energy in the air. So my point is that we're working backwards with our numbers. If we're going to be there in October, and let's say you want to have a $50,000 weekend because the people signing up. It'll be, I think it's October 17th or October 22nd, something like that. There we go, 23rd through 25th. Scott's on it. So we got to just work our numbers backwards, and then we'll get into it with Bill today. So if you want to have a $50,000 day, that's 4 combo sales and a couple essential sales, and you make your 50 grand. Right, so you need 6 sales. Okay, well, let's say you have a 50% sign-up ratio at an event like Nationals or the E3. So then that just means you got to have 12 people in the room. You got to sell 12 tickets. So we're just working our numbers backwards. Well, to sell 12 tickets, how many people do you need to invite and get the full-on invitation out to? Let's say we double that to 25. Okay, well, to get the full invitation out, to get the yes, how many people do I actually have to start a conversation with? And we'll double that again to 50. So some of you only need to have 50 conversations to make 50 grand. Now they have to be intelligent conversations and not just moaning and groaning. But when I was talking about my numbers and my goals and what I'm expecting for fall time for us, our numbers got really exciting, especially with the closing ratio that they did at Nationals. So anyway, just really excited about this fall. And so use this summer to sharpen your skills. I think there's a fable about this, about an ant and a grasshopper. There definitely is, right? The grasshopper plays all summer and the ant works all summer. So then when it's wintertime, the grasshopper dies and the ant has all the food or something like that. Anyway, don't be a grasshopper this summer. Don't be fooled by all the green on the trees. Winter's coming. Fill your bags, make some sales. And if you're not making sales, it's a lack of skills, not a lack of opportunity. So, speaking of skills, let's talk about that. What skills are going to take us to the next level? What skills are going to translate into our marketing and into our real estate so we can get the best of both worlds? And skill development is the thing. It's not just a desire, but it's that development. And one reason why we love our Takeoff Tuesdays and admire our trainer on Takeoff Tuesdays is because of skill development. That's what he exemplifies. When it was time for him to jump into this world of real estate, he was flat broke. He had no idea what he was getting himself into. He just knew that he needed to be in real estate to fix the mess he was in. He was drowning in debt. Business was drying up, facing bankruptcies. He was in a world of hurt, embarrassed, and worried, terrified about what was going to happen. And someone said, you know what, you got a big problem with debt. You got a big problem with a lack of time and resources. You should do real estate investing, and invited him to one of our events. He sat there, he saw the message, he saw the opportunity, he put two and two together and went, I'm in. And in that first year, he turned everything around. That first year, the year before meeting us, he only made 17 grand. The year after that, he had almost 100 short sales in operation, ended up closing on 15 or 20 of them, and totally revolutionized his life. It's because of that skill development and showing up and showing up and showing up. He did a lot of real estate, helped a lot of people. And then as people started asking him, how did he get his start? How did he turn around and change it all? He started pointing to the Renatus meetings and sending people. And I remember him telling me one day with a big old smile on his face, we were at a Super Saturday in Phoenix, and he looks around the room and he said, dude, more than half the people here are because of me. And it was a full room. I mean, we're talking 80, 100 people in this workshop. And he's like, half the people in here are because of me. So one reason why I admire him is because he loves to share the message and help people see a better version of themselves and not just take it all for themselves. He's been able to do short sales, fix and flips, wholesaling, lease options, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, seller finance, notes, commercial, new construction, raising private capital. And he's well-versed in this world of real estate investing and thinking and about improving and working towards a goal. And he's been a fantastic resource for the year, or for several years for us, locally here in our Team Elevate, but then of course nationwide for Team Renatus, because that's what he is. He bleeds blue. He's Team Renatus. So let's give a big warm welcome today for Takeoff Tuesday to Mr. Bill Predebon, GM. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the call.
Thank you very much. That's an awesome intro. It's bringing me back to the days, man, when Michael Huggins and John O'Neill came to Phoenix to pour a little Team Elevate onto us.
And it worked, baby.
Change our world a little bit. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was cool. So good morning, everybody. Thanks, Michael, for being here and having me. This has become a tradition. It's become a thing.
Yeah.
I'm out walking the dogs this morning because just lots of changes going on. We're about ready to head up to Michigan for the summer. In fact, we're probably going to stay in Michigan through the holiday this year. I'm going to buy a snowmobile. I have a trail across the street from my lake house And when the snow flies, there's over 500 miles of groomed trails that they do for the UP that I have access to right off the back of front of my house. It's pretty cool. So
Wow.
plus wide open. Yeah. So we're gonna stay up through Christmas and the New Year. I think we
Holy
rented out our
moly.
place here, the house I built. I think I did I mentioned it in my class, and then yeah, instead of selling it, we decided to rent it. We got $9,000 a month for it. Pretty good
Woo.
rent. I know. Can you believe it? What people will pay. But it's a good house. It's a nice house. It's luxury new construction. So yeah, we moved down into my duplex for the time being for a couple days. It's been a hectic time. So I think I'm going to build another house here, but we're going to check out Florida and spend some time in North Carolina in some of the units that I built with Nate Lambert. I haven't been there since we did the grand opening and the christening, so probably take a couple weeks and spend some time there and figure out where we want to spend some more time. But so I'm walking the dogs. I got a meeting today at 9, so I got to kind of kill two birds. Yeah, so I'm excited about the call. We got some great people on this call. So if anybody's got any thoughts, comments, questions, I have a few thoughts of my own. And I always have to not remind myself, but I always have to give credit to the marketing. And I know it sounds weird because I'm not a full-time marketer, right? I mean, I guess I am in a way, but it's not my primary source of income. However, it is critical to to being a part of the Renatus well cycle. And it's interesting that we have a Renatus well cycle, but I will tell you, I don't read a lot of books, and but when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I know I keep going back to that. I struggled with Think and Grow Rich. I did actually read the book, and then I also bought it on audio tape after that, because reading that book took me. There's sometimes I had to read the whole night's work before again because I didn't get it. But Rich Dad Poor Dad sank into me, and it's about I was thinking about it. I remember, if you guys got thoughts or questions, and Michael, if you and any of the other co-hosts want to remind me if there's any here we go. We got a question already, because it's harder for me to check the chat while I'm walking, but I got one right now. When will the short sale season come back around? Thank you very much for the goat. I love that. Yeah, my team was, till COVID killed my team. Damn it. Oh, did I say that? No. Darn people with the thing that happened. My poor team went away, and we were the Billy Goat team. It was pretty funny, but it was kind of a pun intended, because it's not like it's because of me. Obviously, it's because of the team. The team was the greatest of all time. So anyway, it was the short sale season. You know what I'm going to tell you? I'm going to tell you that, honestly, short sales have been around since people have been giving land as what's the word? As long as landowners have been lending land out, as long as people have been lending money on top of that, and then lending some sort of currency secured by land, short sales have been around. And what that means is there's a time, especially depending on the consumer, right? The individual using the land, right? I can imagine, if there was farmers right back in the day, and the farmers destroyed the land, right? Or they built something on the land, or they didn't utilize the land properly, and it ruined the soil, the land would have less value, right? So there's amount that's owed. My guess is, back in those days, they just kill you if you ruin the land that you borrowed, that the king gave you. but then you have to take back the land and you're going to have to give it to somebody else for less than what you're owed. You're trying to collect something as a remainder. So to this day, there are houses all of the time that are in short sales, right? They're a short sale situation because typically there's going to be some sort of refinance, right? As we all know, within the first 7 to 10 years, I can't remember the exact statistic. God, I used to use it in my presentation all the time, but about 2/3 of people will refinance their house in the first, I think it might even be a little bit more, in the first 7 to 10 years. So they pull out all the equity, generally speaking, and they're right back to 100% leveraged on their house. And then there's a dip in the market. It doesn't need to be a crash, right? But there's always a correction in markets, up and down. Every 7 to 10 years, it goes up, but during that time, it goes up and down, right? And so there's a time when people lose their job, which coincides with a down market. People move, people die, people get sick. All of the reasons why people end up in foreclosure, they end up in short sale as well. And so, in foreclosure, generally speaking, when we look for those houses, we're looking for houses with equity. And, there could be someone that had a troubled time either during an uptick in the market, or they just didn't refinance their house, or they've owned their house a long time and they've paid a lot of it off. But for the most people, we live fully leveraged, and we constantly leverage our, my doggy's got a little picker in her foot. I got to pull it out. Hold on. Oh my goodness. I hate things. If you live in the desert, you will be surprised. Every tree has its own defense. So anyway, long story short, short sales are always abundant. They're always around. But I do know what you mean. So, if you're looking for short sales, you can market to them. You can definitely market to, and iOS would help you with that. You can market to houses that that have that are leveraged to what they're worth. So imagine if a house is worth 100 grand and the loan is 95,000. That's a short sale because there's not enough proceeds to pay for the sale of the house. So if you could get the bank to take a 20% discount on a $95,000 house, loan, that's worth 100 grand, but it needs work, right? Typically these houses are not fixed up. They're not well maintained for the most part because people raise their families there, whatever the case is. And they just didn't have the money, or that wasn't a concern to them. Obviously they weren't making their payment. So in that case, you can tell that the house is the least of their concerns. So, if you can pick up a house for, a 20% discount, 18% FHA discount on a $95,000 loan, you're getting almost 20 grand off. You pick it up for 75, 80,000. It's worth 100. You fix it up for 5, and now it's worth 120, and the market goes up a little bit, and you've got a little deal. So the only thing that what you're really asking is, short sale season. The short sale season will come in the next major crash. And I don't know that we'll see that type of crash in our lifetime. I think it will happen in the 20th century, 21st century that we're in. But because eventually there will be a demand, right? There is a demand for subprime product, and there will be some loopholes out of Dodd-Frank and out of government sanctioning and government regulation where we will find a way to lend to people who really should not be borrowing, right? Because there'll just be too much demand for it. Greed will take over. We will forget history as we do. It will repeat itself, but it'll take a while. They put a lot of government plans in place. Nowadays, the other thing is I haven't done a short sale in quite a minute, right? And they did regulate it. You have to be licensed, or you have to be a representative in some way. There's some states that have some laws as to who can conduct a short sale. And now most banks, if not all banks, have a short sale department. And they're going to have, basically a pattern. They're going to have all of these, rules that you're going to have to follow. I think I don't know. I haven't watched the short sale class in a while. So I would watch that class and see how the updated current short sale market is. But anyway, long answer to a short question. But I don't see the season coming around anytime soon. But there's always short sale. If you like that strategy and you watch that class, it's a great class, especially when strategy, especially when you can target the short sales. They're always about, there have been short sales forever. And you know, Tony and Gavin, who were the original short sales instructors at Renatus, you know, they made a living at doing it in 2000 to 2000, you know, 8, and they never and it wasn't a crash, it was a boom market. The market was rising every day, but there were short sales everywhere. So good question. So one of the things I'm thinking about is and I don't have really a name for, I was going to name the topic, but the reason I like the rich dad poor dad system, right, is, and I think about like Bob Snyder, and it's hard not to, you know, we know him, we know of him, we respect him, you know, and but not everybody knows everybody's, but I can imagine, you know, from what I've learned and heard, and I've known him a long time, you know, there was a time when, you know, Bob had a job, right? And then Bob decided that the job was not going to get him where he wanted to go, and he had for some reason he was drawn to making more money, clearly to helping other people, but in the same time, you know, really providing for opportunities for him to stay at home more, work from home, and have more money and provide more for his family. So so he got into direct sales. He got into a business that could afford that luxury, that lifestyle, right? That didn't cost him time or his time. I mean, it cost time, but it could replace his income. He could work from home, and then he would have money coming in from the efforts he put forth a while ago, right? So if you follow me on this, so he had a job and he didn't quit the job and put himself or his family in jeopardy for a long time. He only did that after he couldn't afford to work there anymore because it was costing him money to go to his job. So he had done well enough and built a big enough team and had enough residual income that he could start his own business on, right? If you think about companies that are actually startups, right, and they should be the benchmark that we follow, right? Not, you know, I love pizza, so I'm going to start a pizza store, or I'm a really good athlete like I was, and I'm going to have a play it again sports store and have no finance. You know, luckily I took 2 economics classes in college, right? But I had no business background, right? I certainly didn't have the money or the knowledge to even use money to pay professionals to do what I didn't know, right? So I ran the business the way I figured I thought it should be run. Nobody was telling me otherwise. Same with my partners, right? So, you know, Bob developed skill sets in what he was doing, and he had a plan, and he had a rich dad plan, you know, which was to own a business, and then from the business he had a partner, and this is speculation to a degree, and it's what I believe, you know, happened over time, and I'm sure of course there's ups and downs, and that's what I want to talk about today. But a couple things to note. Number one is he had a partner that decided she was going to help run their portfolio, right? They were going to have these funds, and then instead of living an extravagant lifestyle out of the beginning, out of the gate, and buying cars, they bought real estate. And then they managed the real estate themselves until they didn't need to manage it themselves anymore, until they understood it, right? And to my knowledge, Bob didn't go to a school on real estate education. And I don't believe that Holly did. I believe that Holly's family came from real estate and was in the real estate industry, if I remember correctly. But so I'm sure she got some at-home knowledge, but they put their money in real estate. They made more money than they needed at the end of the month, and they took the money with some knowledge and they put it into real estate. And over time, they grew a portfolio. And then they would sell off properties and pay off other properties, and or they would just have the tenants pay off the properties. So now, before Renatus, or even maybe when he first started his old company, there was enough real estate money coming in where he could take risk and start a brick and mortar company. And, you know, and he had a different vision to grow this company that would that number one had a great product with demand at the right time when he started travel dynamics in the late 90s, right? But for the 80s and 90s, he mastered a skill in marketing and sales, right? In direct sales, building teams that had residual income from growing a team and teaching others to do the same thing that he was doing, right? So that he could duplicate his efforts. Otherwise, he would have gone to a brick and mortar store, and for every hour he put into his own business, the better he got at it, the more he'd make. But when he wasn't working, he wouldn't have residual income, right? If he would still be a business owner and he could work from home and he could, work on his own terms, but he was trading time for dollars, right? He was still on the other side of the quadrant. And so he began to move over to the right side of the quadrant by having a team in the direct sales. And that's why he picked the direct sales industry. And that's why he chose to continue to build businesses around the direct sales or network marketing or whatever you want to call it industry, right? And so, and then when he started his company, he started it around that model because he was very familiar with it. He was very good at it, very familiar with it. He found a partner that was also very good at it, that were leaders in the industry, and made choices. Now, they weren't perfect choices, and he made a lot of mistakes as well, right? Including picking his partner. And we'll get into that a little bit. But I know I'm kind of telling a story, but I'm trying to, and we definitely don't have to take it to an extreme like Bob did, right? Your course will be your own course. You'll choose how often and how long and how much you want to work at it, how big of a team you want to build, whether or not direct sales is going to be your business or you're going to choose a different business. Your fix and flip business might be your business or whatever it ends up being. And but the point is that he created a business that created more income at the end of the month, and he didn't quit his job and put himself or his family or his finances in jeopardy too soon, right? And I was going back to IPOs, which, like I said, should be the benchmark. And when you think about an IPO, they take a lot of risk. They have no idea how it's going to go when it goes public. But what they do is the company. They start out with a ton of money, right? They fundraise all the time. They get venture capitalists to join them, to invest in them. And then they do all kinds of fundraising. I've been to multiple, both IPO companies, startup fundraising, little gatherers. They host dinners. They spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to host people that are qualified, and accredited investors that can invest in their IPO. And they constantly have seed money to live on, and they live modestly, but to grow the business. The rest of us, if we think about it, we don't do that. And I'm as guilty as it gets. I mean, I started real estate with $0, right? And I thought I'm just going to be sweat equity, right? I had no money. I still had to pay bills, right? And you guys, girls, all know what I'm talking about. Like we think that real estate is no money, no credit. So we just don't even consider using any. And same thing with marketing Renatus. Like it absolutely can be done, but that's the hard road, right? We should budget. We should raise capital. We should consider it being a business, and all businesses need money. They need capital injections. They need seed money, and they need carrying money, right? For ups and downs, for market changes, for unforeseen issues that guaranteed will come your way, especially if you're in real estate, right? If you are doing real estate and you have rental property, or you have any property for that matter, and you are, no matter how seasoned you are, I used to listen to some of the instructors. I used to listen to them. I listened to some of the instructors from even back in the old company. And I'm telling you, it is, I used to think like that's just dumb, right? When I heard it's not if you get sued in real estate, it's when, I'm like, that's just stupid, right? I'm not going to get sued. I'm not going to do anything that's going to cause somebody. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you have a difference of opinion, you can get sued. And when you have a difference of opinion, you're going to sue somebody, right? And regardless of all that, you're going to need professionals. We need to, if you do things the way I do them, you know, and you do your own taxes, and then, you know, you don't really want to pay the professional except to do the return and check your work and stuff like that. And you really want to, you know, you really kind of don't really have the money to hire a good professional, a good tax return, a bookkeeper. You don't have the money to hire an attorney to get to consult with the attorney before you sign a document. I mean, these are risky behaviors, right? Because we really have no business doing it, other than the classes that we take, right? The classes on the education, in my opinion, and I should say in my experience, on tax and legal, and on especially tax and legal, and self-directed retirement accounts, things like that, that they teach us the concepts, and they teach us what's possible and what we can do, and what can benefit us. They're not asking us to go out and get a law degree or a CPA, you know, certification, or by any means become a professional self-directed retirement account custodian by any means. That's for the professionals to do. We just are learning the knowledge of what can be done to benefit us and benefit our families and benefit our business and benefit our clients, right? And then once we put those practices, we become aware of them. When we're putting those practices into use, is when we should be hiring the professionals. But the rest of us, like me, even in my class, I photocopied a contract because I didn't want to spend the money for an attorney to draw up one, right? Fortunately, I never got sued on that contract. And it was Chris Wilson's, and it was pretty solid clad. But I don't recommend doing that, right? I recommend, right, that you don't cut corners. And so going back to Bob, like I said, thinking about IPOs in mind, you know, you want to be seated, you want to be funded, you want to be you know, you may want to partner with people with more experience than you. At the very least, you're doing a great thing, and you're already learning from people with more experience. You're surrounding yourself with people with experience and with the same mindset and things like that. So you've got to pat yourself on the back. You're investing money in the education. I think the biggest problem, it's not a problem. One, it's not a mistake even. It's just a thing. It's just human nature that, you know, when we spend a big amount of money, like a $20,000, $25,000 investment in, and remember, there's twofold on this conversation. And I hope if anybody you can come off mute and ask a question or intervene, or, you know, just comment. You can add anything to it. You can interrupt me whenever you want, or Michael, let me know if there's a question. But when we think about this, it's twofold. This conversation about not only your own marketing, but when we're also talking to other people, right? So where was I going with that? So when we consider Bob, he created, and I don't know, I have an idea maybe, and I kind of a guess, and again, speculation on how well he did. But I know for a fact that him and his partner both were top income earners in the companies. For years, they led team sales. They led direct sales. They were direct sales experts. They were multi-level marketing, you know, world-renowned marketers that did very well in the business. Go ahead. Well, I don't know if someone had a question. So that being said, when I believe, and I can imagine, when Bob started Travel Dynamics in the late 90s, which was an extremely successful company until 9/11, again, a great market for a great product that was in demand, right? Travel points, travel credits, traveled all over the world to have these meetings, and then they would sell people into these travel systems, and then they get discounts on all their travel, and then other products were brought into the system. Really cool concept, right? And so when that happened, they didn't just put it on a credit card, right? There was probably some planning. I imagine Bob used, you know, if we look at Bob's history and his track record, he surrounds himself with some of the best, right? And he pays them. He paid Woody to coach before he had Woody be a coach. You know what I mean? Like, he spent the money, he invested the time and the energy, but he also invested money. And I'm not saying that we need to be that extreme unless that's your goal, right? To have $100 million company. If it's not your goal, but you still have a goal of retiring early, of being able to sustain ups and downs that you're going to have in business and real estate markets, you've got to have reserves, right? You can't do it on no money and no credit. You can definitely do it on no money and no credit of your own, which again, I don't recommend, right? One of the first things I did in Renatus started fixing my credit, right? And I tried doing it on my own. Can you imagine that? I started paying a cheaper company and all this stuff until really I found, I was able to actually pay someone to really help me. But it took discipline of my own, right? You don't just pay somebody and then they take away everything you need. It takes time and discipline on your own. There's things you have to comply with. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But my point is that I imagine that they did some planning and they hired professionals and they built a business plan, right? A lot of people start a business and they don't even have a business plan. And Renatus marketing is a business. And Michael spends, hours and hours and hours trying to share with you a business plan, which is what he broke down in just numbers alone today. If you were to present a business plan to somebody and then ask them for money, and your plan had no projections and had no time settle and had no number of clients that you would need to see to get to the financial goals you have, you wouldn't get any money. Like it's flawed, right? But if you wanted someone to invest in your marketing business, you would use the exact same breakdown of the time, effort, clients, understanding the schedule, when you get paid, how you get paid. All of those things are factored in a business plan, and you can follow it. You can adjust it and that sort of thing. Now, again, if you don't know how to write a business plan, you pay someone to do it, right? You pay someone to help you. They have professional business plan people. A lot of college students can do it for free because they're in business and that's what they're studying to do. And it's practice for them, right? And you can get a hold of them that way. But anyway, the whole point to this is that, I don't know what the point is, you guys, the girls, except that I like the idea that Renatus does supplement to whatever degree you want it to the marketing. And the marketing, one of the things that I think that Bob realized early on was that MLM type direct sales network marketing, these businesses are relatively risk-free. We risk our time and rejection. We risk, we risk people that we put effort into that go away, but that happens in any business, right? We can't control what others do, but we can control what we do, right? So that's why we never stop marketing, right? We never stop being a direct sales individual. We don't want to fall in, Bob teaches that, not to fall into a management mode and manage our team and not do any sales, right? Because eventually we can't control what people do. Where they go, when they quit, when they stop, what happens in their lives, that's going to affect their outcomes. So we have to continue to build new people and new armies and new teams. But other than that, the risk is there's no lawsuits that's going to come to you. There's no losses in money that is going to come to you when it comes to investing in and counting on something else to pay the money back, right? When you get into any type of investing, and we want to do that, right? When we put our money into a business like Renatus, right? Where Bob at some point in time said, you know what? I'm going to cut the fat. I'm going to take this into my basement and I'm going to create an online university. And I love the product. I love the people. I love helping people. I love the concept. I love real estate. I think it's where people need to be. And I've got to figure out how to deliver it better, right? And then when he chose to buy a piece of land and tear down a building and then build a building and then start hiring employees, right? He took on more and more risk. And he decided that he had enough money, in my speculation, that he had enough residual income possibly that he could support ups and downs in the business, right? That he could take care of lawsuits because he's had them from the that, and the point to this is that the positive is that we have an opportunity to have a business that makes considerable amount of money, provides some residual income, some sort of override income, if you really follow the system and you have people become system dependent instead of you dependent, right? And you yourself break away from being dependent on other people, right? I think the 90-day challenge is great, but that's what it is. It's a 90-day head start, right? You want to be able to become as independent as you can in both categories. And then you want to train other people to do so, and in which the system allows. The system allows for us to, like I said, generate extraordinary income for relatively low outlay of money, right? And but we should take, what's interesting about business, and you guys and girls have all heard this, and we talk about it, is that all businesses that we know of from the beginning of time that I'm aware, they put 50 to 75% of their money back into marketing and advertising, right? Their gross margins, right? Their net margins are very slim, right? Their net margins are 5, 3, 7, 10, maybe 20%, right? And that's what they live off. That's what they gain. But in order to continue to grow, right, and keep up with inflation, and keep up with competition, and keep up with the times, they have to continually expand. They put money into R&D, right, into developing new product. Well, Renatus does that for us. Right?
Oh, the wonderful world of the internet. Okay, well, while we're waiting for Bill to come back, there he is. Welcome back. You're on mute, my friend.
How long did I cut out for?
Oh, about the last 4.5 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. About 10
crap.
seconds.
Oh,
no, just kidding.
Oh, good.
10 seconds.
So anyway, you were talking about skill set, and we do try to spend a little money here and a little money there, but it is important that we train ourselves to be better salespeople, and we pay people to help us do that. We pay for personal development. We pay for those things. So anyway, I like the idea of what we got here. Let's see. Any comments, Michael, or questions? Did I miss anything?
Nope, so far so good. But I'm curious about what was it like getting your house rented out for $9,000 a month? Did that take a process? Did you find them yourself? And then also, how are the bookings looking for this summer for your short-term rentals?
Well, short-term rental in Arizona is dead in the summer. You can go to a 5-star Phoenician resort, the Westin. They have what's called staycations here. They have the best pools, the best cooks, and you buy a night for $100, which is normally a $700 night, and you get 2 meals free, and you get an upgraded room. I mean, they're doing anything and everything to get people to come to Arizona and or stay in Arizona for a vacation. So Airbnb is fairly dead in the 4 months of summer, starting in June and running through into October. So I work with a lot of insurance companies all the time on my short-term rentals during the summer and even into the fall and sometimes in the spring. They'll pay Airbnb rates. They pay very well. The house gets dirtier. It gets a little bit more torn up, but it's, you know, it's just part of doing business. But I like that aspect of it. And it fills the gaps. I was renting one of my other houses for $7,100 a month. And I had that one on Zillow. I was actually going to sell. I mean, I was asking to make me move price. You know, I wasn't going to sell the house for less than, you know, 2.4 million. And I had about a showing a week for 30 days and a couple interested parties, but nothing serious, no offers. And so when people were looking at my other house, I have a community pool at this other house. I don't have a pool at this other house. And people were like, oh, I love it, but I want a pool. And I'm like, well, why don't you look at this other house? And then I'd bring them over there. It wasn't even listed. And I had 3 people do that and 1 person took it. It's rented in a week. It rented it like instant. So it wasn't a hard process. I do manage the majority of my portfolio. And I have been for quite a long time. That is something I'll be in transition to do. I have hired 2 other companies in the past, but one company was a startup in Arizona for property management. And I went through a pretty long interview process with them and I really liked the owner, but they sucked. I mean, it was terrible. I flew out one summer from Michigan to check on the properties and it looked like, I mean, one of their employees was like taking water and like sleeping in their truck in one of my side RV gate lots. It was just, they're just weird. So I fired that company and went back to managing myself, which I technically enjoy. And it's a very short season on 2 ends of the stick, 2 ends of the calendar. So you're busy for a certain period of time and it makes a considerable amount of money. And to pay 20 to 25%, I haven't found it necessary yet. I've been able to fit it in my schedule, but as I kind of slow down and do other things, and I'm farther away from the properties, I will turn them over to management soon. And then I'm building 6 more units on one of my properties as a double lot with 3 units on it. So with the existing zoning, it can go to 7 units. So I'm gonna tear down 3 of them and build 6 new units. So that one I'll turn over to regular property management as well. I can't wait to start that construction. It's such a cool little eco-friendly, like community little 6 2-bedroom 1 bath or 2-bedroom 2 bath units with garages underneath, little community area. It's pretty common area. It's pretty cool. But
Nice.
so it wasn't too bad renting it. I'm pretty excited that, you know, to get that kind of rent. It's pretty funny. I've got a house that rents for $6,000 a month, $7,100 a month, and $9,000 a month, and another one that rents for $5,100 a month. So Arizona is a little bit, yeah, it's a different animal altogether. That's why I said, you know, pick your markets. But you know, you can buy, you know, my duplex rents for $1,600 a month and $1,680 a month in Pittsburgh. You know, and I paid $50,000 for the thing. So the cash flow is like $900 a month. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So you know, so I've got a couple of those, but you know, those buildings though, you guys, they're 100 years old. I mean, the amount of maintenance on them is just ridiculous. And again, you know, it's unless you could be a slumlord though. I mean, you could definitely, you know, but you really want to keep up with your product, in my opinion. So yeah, so we're already at 8 o'clock, but I don't know if there's any thoughts, comments, or questions on anything, but I guess my food for thought is kind of wrap up is I like what you're talking about with your, you know, basically Michael's breaking down a business plan for y'all. I think the marketing is pretty critical. It definitely helped me in my time. You know, it's created a lot of opportunity for me to do a lot more real estate, but it's also created a lot of income that pays my bills, right? When you're making 100 grand a year on the side, on a side hustle, you know, which I think is relatively easy to shoot for in the marketing sale a month. It's pretty simple. Then, you know, you can pay your bills with that. You know, when depending on your level, for some people, that's, you know, a lot of money too. And then when I do a fix and flip and make a few $100,000 or whatever it is on some properties, then I can just put those money into my real estate, and it kind of it kind of follows that rich dad, poor dad thought process. And I really believe in that. And eventually, you know, you'll look for bigger businesses. You'll invest more money into other businesses that you don't have to run. And hopefully you'll get some good results with that. Or you'll buy Bitcoin or whatever it is, right? But you want to be able to create. I love that the Renatus, you know, gives us a little bit of both worlds. It gives us the opportunity to have long-term tax benefiting strategies in real estate, and yet it has a significant amount of income opportunity through the marketing, as well as through ordinary income fix and flips as well, which you can, you know, supplement your marketing with. You can have people at your property tours so that you can make more money marketing. It's kind of a nice little circle. So yeah.
Yeah, I think what you're getting at is don't be selfish and keep it to yourself, and make sure to spread it out to the world.
Yeah. Yep. And really consider it a business. You know, consider everything we're doing as a business. Like, there are expenses. Whenever you can, you know, hone in on raising capital, hone in on investing money in the company, in the business. And you know, Bob does it all the time. And trust me, man, it doesn't always work. I mean, there's so many times, you know, and just like a consumer, we buy things we don't use. We buy things we don't want. We buy things we shouldn't have bought. We put them away. We hold on to them. You know what I mean? We hope that someday we'll use it, and then we garage sell it or donate it, right? But so now, and we've got to invest those funds. You know, we've got to budget for growing. And you know, when things aren't working, we've got to consider, you know, reaching out with financial resources to help us improve what we're doing, and capitalize on the changing markets and the changing marketing strategies like AI and things like that. And if we don't know AI and we don't have the time to learn it, or we don't even have the brain to type to learn it, then we should pay people to do it for us. But that costs money. And if we don't budget for it and we don't consider it, we don't have a mindset of investing money into ourselves and our business, you know, we feel like, and rightfully so, it's human nature that we spent 25,000 on education, plus we, you know, join the challenge or would do whatever, and things are expensive. I mean, you know, there's only so much you can do, but again, it costs the business. The business costs money to run. They're not free, not even a marketing business. And if we treat it that way, we'll get the results that we're used to getting, which is not, you know, they're not happy results. You know, they're results that are lacking, you know, and we get little spurts where, you know, we get lucky and someone does sign up pretty easily, and, you know, we make a sale here or there, but businesses don't last on sales here or there, you know, and that's why we've got to consider, you know, really treating the marketing and the real estate as a business, and relying on professionals to help us. So, yeah. Those were my thoughts.
Well said. Well said. All right, folks. Well, let's get to work, and we will see you guys tomorrow for another exciting episode. Have a wonderful day.
Yep.
Bye for now.
Yeah. Make it great.